This video is going to be an energy update for tonight's full moon and full lunar eclipse, September 7th, 2025. It's a very, very powerful time. I've already filmed an energy update like a week ago, but I want to film another one because these energies are just that potent and also significant. And in my opinion, contrary to what you might be seeing, highly, highly, highly positive and beneficial. So I'll just jump right into it. I have three various themes to share with you that you might be going through right now as of today. Theme number one, rearranged. There are periods of time when it seems we have more flexibility to drift from ourselves, drift from our path, our authentic path, go off on little tangents. But then when these big energies sort of loom over us, it's almost like vibrationally things start to go where they belong. And as what I mean by things, I mean like us, you and me, in our life, in our situation, in our career, in our relationships. And all of a sudden we feel pulled or pushed out of an inauthentic circumstance and into alignment where we belong. And the result is more alignment. You're more in tune with yourself. You're more in tune with the universe. There's more support. There's more abundance. There's more synchronicity. There's more love. There's more joy. There's more happiness. There's more of all the things we want. But we don't know that at the time. All we know is things are changing. And we don't know why. Things are breaking down. Sometimes we'll even manifest complications and problems to kind of inspire us to wake up and take new action. And the experience, the transition from going from where we don't belong to where we do belong can seem very accelerated, very fast-paced, very sudden, very uncomfortable because we're just like being taken for a ride and don't know where the train is going. But the result is always the same. You come back home to yourself and you find yourself in a living situation, in a life situation. And that could even be internal. It doesn't have to be like you're all going to move. It could be literally just like in your own mind, the way you're viewing yourself, the way you're viewing the world, what you're choosing to put your energy and focus into. And I wanted to share this because I've been through these transitions and I'm going through one right now. But in the past, they've been a lot more extreme than this one. And I know I didn't really deal with it all that effectively because I didn't understand what was happening. Even though I kind of sensed what was happening, I didn't really have faith in it, you could say. And in case you're going through a transition, what I can tell you, what I learned, something that was present through all the times I've gone through this is an internal compass, an internal sensing of things, the ability to sense into the energy of the situation versus what it looks like on the outside, which can be very, very different. Sometimes what looks like breakdown and problems and like danger even can be the opposite. Oftentimes it is the opposite. Sometimes things have to break down for us to entertain even the possibility that things can be better. I've had this in business quite a few times where there was like something I was like depending on or resting on too strongly, like a support. And then when the timing was right, like now, boom, the support falls. And it catches you off guard. If you're leaning against something and it falls, you're like, whoa, what's going on? Whoa. Also, if you're leaning on something, we tend to become kind of complacent, a little too comfortable, a little bit lazy. And when we kind of wake up, we can realize, oh, wow, I don't know if I like the support beam anyways. And you know what? It's been a long time since I thought about doing this. Or how about I go here? How about I try this? And all of a sudden, all these different ideas are firing. And all these ideas are going to come from within. And they're going to be authentic. They're going to be your ideas. They're going to gear you towards where you're meant to go. A long time ago, I was living in Michigan as an example of this. And deep down, some of you have heard my story, but deep down, I wanted badly to live in San Diego. I wanted to be a professional YouTuber. I wanted to live the laptop lifestyle. I had all these big dreams. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And anyway, one day, my family and I, we came home from a little camping trip, and we came home to our house. We were gone about a week, and there was a big flood in our house somehow. I don't remember how some kind of pipe burst. And the ceiling had water damage all over it. So coming into the house, seeing the water damage, it was stressful. It was whoa, what's going on here? That same week, some other crazy thing happened. I went to pick up my daughter from school, and we were coming home and pulling into our subdivision. And I swear to you, and we were living in a pretty safe area, but what we saw were armed officers with automatic machine guns going through our neighborhood. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And there was some bank robber on the loose or something crazy. But the point is, our little situation that at one point was perfect and fitting and appropriate and in alignment, all of a sudden started manifesting these sort of eye-opening situations that made us finally take seriously the notion, which we kind of knew intuitively for a long time, but now it was there was more of an urgency, and the notion was, you don't belong here anymore. You don't want to be here anymore. This is not a fit. You're not happy here. You're not thriving here. And though you don't know how to get to where you want to go, you know you don't want to be here. And seeing the water damage and seeing the armed officers, it was okay, how do we get out of here? Whereas before, our dreams seemed too far-fetched to really take seriously. And to really even do that was kind of scary. Oh my God, how are we going to do all these things? How are we going to move? How are we going to accomplish this? Better just put that out of my mind for a while and go back to business as usual. But eclipses don't allow that. They don't allow business as usual if the business is not in alignment with who you really are. But the point of me saying all this is, what happened? Within a few months, we were living in San Diego. I was a professional YouTuber. I was living the laptop lifestyle. It happened a lot faster than I could have ever imagined, and it happened a lot more smoothly than I could ever imagine. And I was guided from within the entire time. Not with a concrete map, nothing to rest on. That's kind of the caveat. You're not going to get to where you belong in some kind of predictable way, most likely. And the reason for that is your mind will screw it up. Your mind will get in the way. It'll disrupt what can be a very smooth manifestation process and prevent you also from reaching the heights you're now able to attain and experience in your day-to-day life. But the caveat is that you're only guided with the very next step. And that's all you see. You don't see beyond that. And to the mind, it's like chaos. It's very scary. But you can trust your internal compass, my friend. You can trust your sensing of the energy. Because even when those things happen, I mentioned, I knew. The moment I saw the water, and then for sure, same again, when I saw the machine gun guys, I knew it's time to go. Now it's time. Before it was this idea, this hope, this someday type of thing. Now it's go time. How do we do this? And my wife and I, we came up with the idea. And a few months later, we were gone in a much better situation. As will you be, my friend. So right now, you might be getting rearranged in your career. You might be getting rearranged where you live. Maybe there's some relationships that are not in alignment, and you've known that for a long time, and you just sort of we're in a little bit of a denial maybe. There's no more room for that. It's time to be who you are, where you're meant to be, doing what you're meant to be doing. And you know what? You're going to be a heck of a lot happier when you get there. Number 2 is a phenomenal opportunity to let go of outdated modes of control in your mind through worry, through just various mental habits that you've sort of gotten away with now They're probably kicked up. I know for me, when these sort of transitions are kind of imposed on me by the universe, so it seems, and I'm going through a journey like I just described, where I sense deeply, intuitively that it's going to be amazing, but I don't see how, and it's kind of like unnerving. Usually that's when my mind gets very frantic and I get very trying to control, I'll try to plan it all out in my mind and in my notebook, and it gets me nowhere. It's just kind of like I go into like a fight or flight type of frenzy, and a lot of us do. It's kind of a normal reaction of the mind to unexpected change, even though intuitively we sense it's going to be like awesome and beneficial. And right now, if that's happening with you, if you're becoming more aware of like the unnecessary worry and concern and just different patterns in your mind, now is a good time to really look at that and ask yourself, do I want to continue responding like this? Because the fact is, life, one of the only constants is change. Nothing stays the same. And if you look out at nature, my friend Aaron always says, a tree in the fall, do you think a tree gets stressed out when the leaves start to kind of die and fall off the branches? Do you think the tree's like, oh God, this is bad? No. It happens. The tree knows it's going to be dormant for a little while here. It's going to get a little bit chilly. And all of a sudden, the spring sun's going to come again, as it always does, and then new buds will form, giving way to new leaves and a whole new beautiful summer, spring season. And then it's going to happen again. That happens with us. That happens with our bodies. That happens with our careers. That happens with like the theme we're playing out in life. It happens with our relationships. I've met some amazing people over the years that some of them I thought would be in my life forever. But then for whatever reason, they were guided this way, I was guided that way. And, it's sad. At the same time, I can be grateful for the friendship. But if I was to cling and, I'm not going to go off on my path because I'll be sad, it doesn't work. It creates a lot of stress. And you might just becoming aware of how your mind attempts to resist change. And it creates a very uncomfortable and internal state. It disrupts the natural, inevitable sort of flow of your life, and it's not doing you any good. So what I'm learning from my own little transition right now is that I don't like how I am getting. I don't like where my mind is getting, because I've learned that change comes. I can learn a lot about myself along the way. I'm always guided from within. And as long as I'm doing my best to live an authentic life, it's always an upgrade. So there's no point. It's like being in the 5th grade and not wanting to go to 6th grade. Even if you had control and could stay in the 5th grade, what would happen? It'd get pretty boring going through the same test. It'd be easy. It'd be safe. It'd be predictable. You'd be with a bunch of little kids. You'd be bored out of your freaking mind, feeling purposeless. You'd go to bed probably feeling depressed. And that's the result of resisting change. It's exchanging safety, or this illusion of safety, we'll say, for happiness. And if you're like me, I don't want to do that. I'm doing my best now to embrace change, to trust in the natural flow of life, my life, to trust in my ability to navigate it. I always have it. You always have it. Whenever things get like this, your intuition's always like ready to be leaned upon. That's the one thing you can lean on, is yourself, your intuition. And it will guide you. It will protect you. It'll support you. It'll be there for you as the external changes and rearranges. And the mental habits, however they manifest for you. For you, it could be something different. Maybe for you, when times get tough, you eat a lot of junk food, or maybe you watch too much TV, or whatever it is. I have my ways. I go and I see what Bitcoin's at. I invest in Bitcoin. So it's like, is it high? Is it low? And it's stupid. It doesn't do me any good. And it's time to stop doing that. So what is your version of that? because the things are going to settle. You're going to go where you're meant to go regardless. And you're going to get there and it's going to be badass. You're going to say, oh man, I wish I could have trusted all along. I should have. Ding dong. But regardless, it's going to happen again. And the point is, when it does happen again, when the winds of change blow in once more, maybe next month, later this month, with the next eclipse, who knows, how are you going to respond? Are you happy with how you responded or reacted rather this time? Now is the time to really get clear with like how you want to relate with change, transformation, and upgrade. Because you don't have to do it this way. I don't have to do it this way. We can evolve. We can start to lean more heavily onto our intuition and the universe. Number 3, it's a time to emerge as a stronger version of yourself. Going back to my little story, when I was trying to migrate my family and my career from Michigan to San Diego, once I saw the writing on the wall with the military and all the crazy stuff I was explaining, we had this idea, my wife and I, that we can move our family into a little travel trailer and move to San Diego. And that idea came from within, but it felt like it was a gift from God. It was like this thing we never considered, but we had the RV already. We had the ability to do it. And it wasn't until we were kind of forced to think outside of the box that it kind of came into our awareness. And anyway, that idea resonated so beautifully, and we did it. We sold everything. We sold our house, quit my job, and we moved into this little RV, which did not feel like a downgrade. For the record, it felt like an amazing idea, and we enjoyed it. And I'll never forget how I felt when I pulled out of our neighborhood for the last time. My whole family in the back, and the RV, and all of our belongings, a few we were able to kind of keep. We just headed off, and it was like this sense of adventure, and there was this feeling of like hope and possibility, and just this awareness that we are now finally back in alignment. But you know what happened a couple of days later? We ran into a crazy ass snowstorm, a blizzard. And I found myself driving this clunky RV with my precious family in tow, heading into this crazy blizzard with nowhere to go, because you can't just camp in the winter with your RV. All the pipes will burst. We had to keep going. There was no turning back. We just had to keep going through the mountains. And I'll never forget how stressful it was driving in the middle of the night at like 10 miles an hour up and down these wintry mountain roads, seeing cars spun off left and right. It was dangerous and there was nowhere to go. And I asked myself, why? Why did I do this to myself? I was questioning my choice to follow my intuition, because after all, it led me here into this precarious situation. And I was like having a moment, like, what am I going to do? But there's nothing I could do. There was no turning back. There was no stopping off. The storm was getting worse. The smartest move, the safest move was to just keep going. So I did. Through the night, up and down, these wintry, slippery roads, through the mountains, with my family, something I chose to do. And that I was like thinking about that. Man, you're endangering your family. And it was a crisis. It was a crazy rite of passage. But you know what eventually happened is the weather broke. And we finally made it to San Diego just in time to catch the sunset. And I will never, ever, ever forget walking on to that warm beach as the sun was setting with my family. And there was this moment where me and my kids, we like looked up and raised our hands into the air and looked to the sky. And we literally did that. I have a photo of it somewhere. And it was so sweet. Now, would it have been nice to get there without the crazy journey? Yeah. At the same time, having endured it, I am now grateful, because it gave me a strength. It gave me an endurance. It revealed to me that I'm a lot stronger than I sometimes act or think. I have no choice now but to know I have this ability to rise to the occasion, to endure certain hardships and make it out not only on the other side, but stronger. And these are situations that we would never consciously put ourselves into. Few people. So the universe does it for us. And it presents us with unexpected challenges we don't think we're able to handle, but inevitably we do. And we're better off for it. So this is a time to really embrace whatever the universe is giving you and know that you can use it to make you stronger. Not everybody does. That's why I'm saying this. This is not an inevitable outcome. I see it all the time. I see people get put into a situation and they fall. They fall back into like a lesser conscious state, and they create these victim stories, and they like almost devolve a little bit, and they make themselves destined to just repeat that same cycle some other way until they finally get the message. So I say this to you because it's not about like what's happening to you. It's really not. It's about how you respond to it. Do you respond to it by taking ownership of the fact that you put yourself here? You know, I've been in some pretty crappy situations that I can't blame the person, the circumstance. I put myself there. My decisions, my whole life led me here. And sometimes it can feel like there's an injustice taking place. But who do you think attracted that injustice? It's not easy to admit that sometimes. It's not easy to kind of like to humble yourself and to own your choices, own your situation, own your feelings. Like Eckhart Tolle says, he kind of makes a joke about so-and-so is irritating me. He says that's a funny thing to say because the reality is so-and-so is causing you to irritate yourself. There is no internal reaction that is truly the result of something outside. Because that outside is something we brought to ourselves and our reaction is ours. One person can see somebody and think they're hilarious. Another person can see somebody and feel they're obnoxious and offensive. Someone can see that same person and think they're dangerous. Some people can see that person and not think anything of it all. That the common denominator is the individual's response is their own. But the point is, like when life gets hard like this, it's very tempting to blame and to cast off our own responsibility. But the ones who don't do that, the ones who can really own it and learn from it, will continue to rise, no matter what. And then there's nothing to be afraid of because it doesn't matter what happens to you because you will always respond in a beneficial and positive way, continuing your expansion in consciousness, continuing your evolution, continuing your falling more deeply into the moment, into alignment, into your purpose, into who you truly are, which is love, happiness, empowerment, grace, all these things. There's nothing that can stop you from going there in that direction but yourself.